Oh, hello there. Welcome to my humble abode, the Monticello. What you are about to witness is what a debate would look like between myself and Mr. John Adams. I'm Thomas Jefferson, and I approve this message.
Good evening, young America. I'm George Washington, and here's how the debate shall be conducted. I will give each of the candidates a question, which they are not in prior knowledge of. Then they shall answer as diplomatically as they see fit. Let us begin. Mr. President, would you like to educate us on your beliefs of the importance of freedom versus security? Which is most important for the government to protect?
Mr. President, I believe in security. Security from the mob. Economic security. I think the people's natural instincts are strongly suspect, Mr. President, and I think they need to be controlled. I think that is the role of any decent government. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President, which is most important to you?
Mr. President, is very simple. Without a doubt, freedom is more important than security. The power lies within the people, and those people should be free. It is as simple as that.
Mr. President, would you please comment on your vision for the overarching future of America?
I'm afraid I'm going to have to defer the question. Could you give me just a second, Mr. President?
Yes. Mr. Vice President?
Oh, I thank you, Mr. President. You're very kind. Firstly, I'd like to say that I believe that the power lies within the state governments. In other words, the power lies with the people. Secondly, I believe in an agrarian economy that is dependent on small farmers who own and till their own land. But most importantly, I believe in the rights of the people, hence the fact that I spearheaded the creation of the Bill of Rights.
Back to you, Mr. President.
I strenuously object to his beliefs, Mr. President. A large government is, in fact, the key to prevent people's power, mob power. I see a great nation in the future. A great nation of industrialism and strong economic power. I believe that a connection to the wealthy is essential. Very essential.
Mr. President, may I ask, don't you believe that the power should lie within the hands of the people, not the few, but everyone?
I think a strong base with the wealthy is important. I think they are there for a reason.
But the people, Mr. President, the people. Not all people are wealthy, but that doesn't mean that they don't deserve power.
I think the mob is not a good thing. I do not think the mob should have power.
As my former Secretary of State, Mr. Vice President, what is your view on the French Revolution?
Well, the French have admirably followed in our footsteps by revolting against a tyrant. The people deserve the power, not some selfish king. I commend the French for what they did. The Tree of Liberty must be refreshed time to time by the blood of patriots and tyrants.
I think it's an abomination, Mr. President. I think it's sick and that it's wrong. Its hatred of centralization and its radicalism are sick. The French have sunk to a new level. The fact that it led to Napoleon indicates its lack of validity. And I think that making laws to prevent French influence, or general foreign influence, as you once suggested, Mr. President, is of prime importance and very essential.
Mr. President, should our country have a national bank?
As I said before, a connection to the wealthy is important. We have a blatant lack of decent banking in this gorgeous nation of ours. Unifying currency and ensuring a financially stable government would be extremely healthy for all, I think.
As for you, Mr. Vice President, do you believe in our national bank?
Mr. President, I do not believe in a national bank. Our money should not be held by the hands of the powerful federal government. They cannot be trusted. Only corruption will occur with this.
For our viewers, this next segment is the one you've all been waiting for the candidates' beliefs on the Alien and Sedition Acts. The Alien Act giving the president a firmer hand in dealing with illegal immigrants and making citizenship less attainable. And the Sedition Act, some claim to be, an affront to the First Amendment, giving the government power to detain those attempting to incite rebellion. Your view, Mr. President?
Thank you. We must fight the French in some way for me to capitalize on my promise of security. These acts are essential to our well-being and to avoiding negative foreign influence. Libel and revolution against a government of the people is unacceptable. Therefore, sacrifices of certain freedoms are unfortunate but required.
Mr. Vice President?
These two acts are atrocious. They should be abolished. The Sedition Act completely contradicts the First Amendment, the foundation of which the Republican Party stands. The Alien Act is an obvious attempt by the Federalists to maintain power and limit diversity in the government.
Next, we move on to the responses to these acts, the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions, attempting to, at state level, nullify these laws. Mr. President, how do you believe our nation should respond?
This is unacceptable. The federal government shouldn't be stripped to the bone. They should work as comrades of the states, not as subordinates desperately hoping for tattered scraps of power and responsibility to be thrown to them like a famished beast. The states shan't nullify this. We, too, are of the people and for the people, and these dissidents are wrong in their suggestions otherwise, Mr. President.
If you were president, how would you respond, Mr. Jefferson?
Mr. President, I would applaud these resolutions. Finally, states are taking a stand against the federal government. They're standing up for themselves and doing what's best for the people. And they're doing what's best for the posterity of our nation.
How, Mr. Vice President, do you believe this debate shows the competition between state and federal governments for power?
Mr. President, this debate, once again, shows the greed and the selfishness of the federal government. They're attempting to strip the states and people of their rights and power. It is not acceptable. We must stand up to this.
I stand up to that, sir. This has created a crisis, Mr. President. Brawls are occurring in the Congress. However, no progress is occurring. Tension is everywhere. So yes, this absolutely shows competition and a great rift between these two sides. I think there are some valid points here, although not in this discussion from you, sir. But I also think it's a feud between egos. A futile feud that makes me feel uncomfortable. Should the federal government have more powers? Not just those given in the Constitution by the states? I think so.
Mr. President.
I think it's crucial to our becoming the strongest nation in this world.
Any last thoughts, Mr. President?
I'm finished here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Vice President?
Mr. President, it is very simple. The power belongs in the hands of the people and in the hands of the state governments. I like the dreams of the future better than the history of the past. Let us move on, America. Let us move on.
And that concludes our debate. I'm George Washington. Thank you for listening, and have a nice evening.
Hello once again, my fellow Americans. I hope this mock debate has opened your eyes. And come Election Day, I think you know who to vote for. I'm Thomas Jefferson, and I approve this message.